The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnest Speaking podcast coming to you here on October 8th, 2020, although this will drop on October 9th, because actually we are literally 9 minutes away from midnight, so technically it's October 9th. So, how you guys doing? This is going to be a long one today, because we're going to have, we have on two guests on the show today. Two guests. Of course, our old friend Kyle Nash, through the game, will be on the show. We'll talk to NFL. I got 7 questions to ask him, which he has agreed to answer. And then, on the far end of the show, back end of the show, the second interview will be, Big Jim Neis. Big Jim, of course, the host of the 3 Count Thursday wrestling podcast, my favorite wrestling podcast on the planet, as well as the Huddle Up podcast. He'll be on the show as well. We're going to talk about a variety of topics, from wrestling to sports media to college football to, whatever it may be. But, as always, this podcast you can find on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of course, I mentioned on the show, last episode we recorded, it's now available as well on Amazon Music. Earnest Speaking Podcast on Amazon Music. So, okay. So a couple things to talk about here before we begin on Kyle and Big Jim. I'm sure you guys are waiting with bated breath to hear my reaction to the vice presidential debate that took place technically 2 days ago. It's still 24 hours from I'm recording right now, but it's technically 2 days ago because it's actually Friday by the time this goes out. Let me just say for starters that it was very refreshing to hear normal debates. Very refreshing to hear the tone of two people on far ends of the aisle, but talking and debating in a relatively respectful manner. Obviously, there were moments in the debate where, I thought Mike Pence, went longer than he needed to. Kamala had some expressions that it could be deemed as rude. I don't think it was rude, but that's my opinion. But it was much more, it was more normal, it was actually refreshing. I tweeted this out during the debate. Very refreshing to hear a debate with no screaming and insults and all that we got last week with Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And to be honest, it's really mostly Donald Trump. Let's call spade a spade. It's mostly Donald Trump. Okay? But I thought, to be honest with you, on Kamala Harris, I thought she did very well early on, with, pinning COVID-19 and all that, the blame of the coronavirus and their response and handling, or mishandling, as she says, on the Trump administration, of course. I did think there were some points of the debate, though she did lose the opportunity to really hit Pence up with some, attacking him or whatever, maybe, but she didn't do that. I think the goal for Kamala Harris and the Biden campaign was to stay normal, not to create moments they need to create, and just kind of, basically, the Biden campaign's run out the clock right now. Like, if you believe the polls, which I believe most of those polls are, Joe Biden right now is surging in the polls right now. He's in some corners, some of the polls, especially the conservative polls, Rasmussen especially, which I always mention on this show. He's polling in double digits. Donald Trump's had a disastrous week between the debate last week, between getting COVID-19 a day or two later, and then the thing with the stimulus 2 days ago, where he's basically saying that no more negotiations until after the election when he wins it. And then hours ago, he's saying now that it's back on the table again. I don't fucking know, dude. It's so chaotic. But if you follow the polls are really, lead you to believe that Joe Biden's in full command now of this race. I will say this, though, in credit of Mike Pence, I am not a Mike Pence fan. I've been very vocal about that. But he's normal. He's, he's a politician. He's normal. He's not, abrasive. He has his beliefs, and that's it. I think he's far right. Even when I was a Republican, he was more far right than I was when I was in part of GOP back in the mid 2000s. But what I will say, what he accomplished last night, Mike Pence, the debate was he normalized the Trump campaign again. He basically cleaned up Donald Trump's mess from last week. Okay? Now, whether or not, yes, you agree with the things he said, with the different topics and segments they brought up, that's up for debate. Research that. That's up to you guys to research that. But in terms of the rhetoric, in terms of the tone, he cleaned up Trump's mess from last week. That's all really you can really give him credit for. I forgot, actually, that Mike Pence was a good debater. Because Donald Trump takes out so much oxygen out of the room that it's easy to forget that, oh, this guy is pretty good behind the mic. Very concise and to the point. He doesn't have to be abrasive with it and loud. It was refreshing. I did like his closing point too about the, unity and despite being a different, beliefs and all that, we're Americans and that we should always respect each other. I did like the fact that he set a good tone with that. Look, I'm not a Mike Pence fan politically, but I really did like his closing statement yesterday. I thought he did a good job, actually, considering this based on the rhetoric, just based on the tone, based on just presentation. I thought he did a complete 180 in comparison to his boss. Let's put it that way, Donald Trump. So we are now 26 days from the election from today. Like I said, the polls are definitely in Joe Biden's favor. My last time I did the podcast, I had the Trump's election odds at 45%. I'm gonna go lower now to 35%. Again, we'll see what happens. It's still 3.5 weeks of possibilities. There's still October surprises to happen. I mean, the current law, the president got COVID-19. What else is going to happen now? I mean, it's 2020. Anything can happen. But in terms of the debate, I thought it was refreshing to have it normal. We'll see whether we have another debate with the president next week, supposedly in Miami the 15th. Supposedly the president does not want to do it because it's virtual, because he believes that he'll get cut off and all that. I don't know, man. Joe Biden says that if he has COVID-19 still by next week, you should have a debate. I agree with him there. Virtual is the way to fix that. I don't know. Do we need a debate, honestly? I don't think the debate's going to do much anymore, to be honest with you. I think, as I've been saying for a while now, I think the amount of undecided voters is much smaller than in 2016. Most voters know who they're voting for at this point. That's why it's funny when people say, I don't know what to vote for yet. I think that's all bullshit. I think that's really all bullshit. I think most people know who they're voting for. 2016 is different, because 2016 you had two candidates you did not know how they would be. There was no touch and feel of Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. They were never president before. We've now felt 3 3/4 years of Donald Trump as president. And whether or not you love him or you don't like him, we have something to run on, or something to base a vote on, based on actual substantial information on the candidate. So that's the difference between 2016 and now. That's just what it is. So again, like I said, it was nice seeing the normal debate, nice seeing normal interaction, between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Kamala Harris did what she had to do. She just had to make sure she didn't create any moments. She had to make sure she just run the clock out. So that's that. Okay, before we bring in Kyle and then Big Jim, let's get to the picks of the week. Week 5 picks in the NFL. It's going to be a wacky week because there's a lot of games being rescheduled. The COVID-19's hitting, Tennessee, whether or not they should forfeit the game against Buffalo. So, and some of these games and spreads, or some of the spreads are off. Like a couple of games here, for example, on the list, don't have any over-unders. Like Buffalo, Tennessee right now, the spread's a lot, but the over-under is off the board as of right now. So, let's go there first to the Thursday night game that happened tonight. Now, Tampa already lost this game. I actually had the over in this game. I lost here. Bucks and Bears. The Bucks were 3-point favorites. Over-under was 44.5. I had the over in the game. The Bears did win the game 2019, so I lost on the over. It went under. Okay, so let's go to the Sunday real quick. Let's go through this real quick before we bring in Kyle and Big Jim. All right, we have the Carolina Panthers heading to Atlanta face the Falcons. The Falcons are 0-4 and 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 54.5. Once again, I'm going to pick the Falcons to get the first win. Carolina's playing good football, though, 2-2. But I think Atlanta, at some point, has to win a game. They're just too damn talented to not win a game. So that's that. As I said, the Buffalo Bills game, which is now scheduled, I believe, Monday or Tuesday next week, heading to Tennessee face the Titans. The Bills are 8.5-point favorites. There's no over-under right now currently on the board, but it's okay. I'll take the Bills to cover the 8.5 points because I think Tennessee will be without guys because of the COVID-19. All right. Arizona Cardinals heading to New York face the Jets. The Jets are right now 7-point favorites. Over-under is 46.5. Give me the under on this game. Let's see here. We have the Philadelphia Eagles heading to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. The Steelers right now are 13-point favorites. Over-under is 47.5. I like Philly to cover here. We got the first one of the year in San Francisco last week. I think Philly will be competitive. I have a hard time betting Pittsburgh right now. That many points. As good as they are. We have the LA Rams heading to Washington face the Redskins. The Rams right now are 9.5-point favorites. The over-under is 46 points. Give me the Redskins to cover 9.5 points plus 9.5. All right. The Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati Bengals heading to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Right now the Ravens are 8.5-point favorites. The over-under is 52 points. I like the over this one. I think this could be a shootout between Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. We'll see what happens there. Burrow's been playing some good ball. Let's see. The Jacksonville Jaguars heading to Houston to face the Texans. The Texans right now are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is 54 points. I like the Texans to finally win the first game. Bill O'Brien was obviously fired this week. I think they'll motivate the guys to play better. Because if you hear the stories about Bill O'Brien and how he handled things with that team recently, J.J. Watt getting involved and all that, I think they'll step up. And plus the Jaguars are bad. They're really bad. The Las Vegas Raiders, still having a hard time saying that, heading to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. The Chiefs right now are 11.5-point favorites. The over-under is 56 points. I'm going to take a gamble here. Take the under. Take the under in this game. AFC West showdown. I can see some stops. We'll see. All right. The Miami Dolphins heading to San Francisco to face the Niners. The Niners are 8.5-point favorites. Over-under is 48 points. I like Miami. I think Miami will cover the spread. I think Miami's competitive. They've been competitive all year long. I believe in Brian Flores. All right, Denver Broncos heading to New England to face the Patriots. The Patriots are 10-point favorites. There is no over on the board right now currently. It doesn't matter. I'm taking the Patriots. I think Cam Newton's playing this game. I believe. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's see. The Indianapolis Colts, surprising 3-1 team, headed to Cleveland to face the Browns. The Colts right now are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 47 points. That's funny. The Browns actually be disrespected right now after that big win against Dallas. That's it. I'm saying the Browns win this game. I'm not big on the Colts this year. I'm not big on the Colts. I'm not buying that just yet. The New York Giants heading to Dallas to face the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 11-point favorites. The over-under is 53.5. I like the Cowboys to win this game and cover. The Giants are really bad. The Cowboys need to win bad, and they can use a style points win here too, especially. So I think the Dallas Cowboys will do their job against the Giants. This is an interesting game here. Minnesota Vikings heading to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Right now, the Seahawks 9-point favorites. Over-under is 57.5. I'm going to take the under in this game. Minnesota won a big game against Houston last week. I'm going to take the under in this game. I think Minnesota is going to climb back to relevance again. And finally, Monday Night Football. LA Chargers heading to New Orleans to face the Saints. The Saints are 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is 51.5. Give me the Chargers. They've been competitive, man. They almost beat Tampa last week. They almost beat Kansas City 2 weeks ago. Give me Chargers. Anthony Lynn's doing some. I mean, obviously the coaching was pretty rough in that Tampa game, but he's coaching his guys up, man. Justin Herbert, I'm still buying into that. So anyway, those are the picks for Week 5 in the NFL. All right, time to talk to Kyle and then Big Jim Neis. So let's go enjoy the podcast, guys. Everybody, love you guys. Okay, on the line with us, we got the man, student of the game, Kyle Nash, with us. We're gonna play 7 burning questions with Kyle today on this episode. Kyle,
yes.
What's up?
Hey, what's a good word, EJ? I mean, listen, it's been so long I lost the middle initial, the F. Now, the question is, was I reminding you of the F, or was I asking the F? Which is it? I don't know.
Did I say F? I thought I did say F and Nash.
You did not, sir. You were F-free.
Failure. I'm a failure.
That's the F we're using for EJ Christian tonight. That's okay. It wouldn't be the first. That'll be the last on this show talking to me. Moving on.
Real quick, we get to our questions real quick. Did you watch the debate last night?
I did not, but hey, I did hear about the fly and all that was going on. Yeah, no, I was busy recording the 1-0 show, the UCF little video show I do on the Facebook Live. You can either get that on the 1-0 show Facebook page or with the Facebook group UCF One Heartbeat. So there you go.
I'm starting to lose track of how many shows you're involved in right now.
Hey, listen, I used to aspire to how busy Antoine Staley was, but now I think I'm officially busier.
You want to hear some really fucked up on my end, though?
I'm sure you'll tell me.
Oh, I'm going to tell you. I haven't had him on the show in over a year.
Oh, no, first of all, that's because you're not me. And second, he's a tough dude to get a hold of. Not for
Is he really now? Is he really? There's no reason why I haven't done it. It just kind of.
Well, I mean, you'll drive to Orlando and completely ignore my family. So really, I'm not putting it on him. I was just trying to hope to say something to make you look good on your show and move on. But if you want to make it about facts, no, I think you're the problem.
Facts won't get my feelings, man. Just like old times. So let's talk some NFL real quick. I want to speak out segment today a little bit. I have some questions I want to ask you pertaining to the narratives right now, as we're now a quarter of the way into the season right now.
Yeah.
Here's my first question to you real quick.
Right.
We saw this week that Bill O'Brien got fired from the Houston Texans on Monday. The Texans are 0-4 right now as we speak. My question to you is, did the Texans do the right thing by firing him only 4 weeks into the year, considering their schedule too? They've opened the year against the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers, arguably the three best teams in the AFC. Was this too soon?
You know, if they fired him at 0-3, I would have said yes. To do what they did against the Vikings and DeAndre Hopkins and things coming out of camp that allegedly he and J.J. Watt had an exchange, yeah, no, it's time. No, it's time. Listen, Bill O'Brien, I don't have a problem with him Thursday. I think he's a good coach. I just don't think he's such a good GM, and he was doing both, right? So, again, we need to get out of the business of doing this, NFL teams. Have you learned enough? You know nothing, Jon Snow, right? Yeah, listen, you weren't going to be able to be in a position to say, hey, just coach only and don't do GM stuff, right? I think I'll put it this way. He's been surviving on the fact that he has continued to keep them above water in a sorry division, and the Titans have emerged. That excuse isn't going to fly anymore, simply put.
No, I'm with you. I don't remember exactly if you and I were on the fire O'Brien train last year after, another. Let's be clear, they were a playoff team last year, but maybe the blown lead against the Chiefs in the second round of the playoffs, divisional round, and we thought, okay, well, he's probably gonna be done in Houston, and instead, not only did he get an extension, he got an extension and got a promotion to being the general manager, which
right?
Shocked me. I know how I felt about O'Brien last year. I can't remember exactly if you were on the same page with me last year.
No, I wasn't, because it's not so much that he blew a lead as Patrick Mahomes reclaimed it from him. There's a big difference when you're playing one Patrick Mahomes. Okay, that's just a fact of the case.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, Patrick Mahomes would have saved his job last year in my eyes, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, right. But I do think that, to me, I think my complaint last year was the fact that I felt like O'Brien really hit his ceiling with that team. Like, to me, if the Texans were going to get to the next tier, Patriots and, Chiefs and all that they needed another leader in place.
Right. Well, I could see that too, but where he shot himself in the foot, ironically, is with this whole DeAndre Hopkins situation. And listen, not everybody is going to be Baltimore or Kansas City. That's not even remotely fair. But with O'Brien, I was willing to also give him another year because of all the moves he made to get Laramie Tunsil, which I was kind of in favor of. What he did to kind of put people in place to succeed, it seemed like, and then all of a sudden DeAndre Hopkins, and that's when it started to go downhill, right? Mm-hmm. Now granted, giving David Johnson a place to get good work and produce is nice, but Yeah, you needed Hop a lot more than we realized, apparently. And listen, Deshaun Watson, I think whoever it was that made the decision to let Bill O'Brien go did it with fear of losing Deshaun Watson in their hearts.
Well, well, for what we know, if the reports are true, J.J. Watt had a lot to do with that.
I mean, well,
your
if
boy.
you're going to bring up my beau,
yeah,
I'm not going to say anything
your
else.
Boo. It's your boo.
You
That is
know.
a beau, your boo.
Listen,
Man
man.
crush.
Boo, Bo, Doe, Show, whatever. That guy's a bad mamma jamma, and you better recognize it.
That being said, like, okay, so we assume that when the year is over, you're going to have the Jets job up for grabs, assuming the Jets are going to continue what they're doing, which I don't see anything changing. Atlanta Falcons, of course, where they're going, they're going to, Dan Quinn be gone for two. Is it safe to say that of the jobs that will probably be available by the end of the year, that this Houston job will be the most coveted? Because I say yes.
It's in the run. I mean, it beats the hell out of the Jets job. I mean, right? I mean, I know I'm setting the bar low. I'd rather coach the Texans than the Giants at this point. I mean, I have none of the media attention by comparison, and I'm in a similarly lackluster division, although the NFC least is pretty damn bad. I've got to think that Minnesota might possibly be on the table again soon with the way things are falling to mediocrity way faster than anybody could have selected. Listen, I knew they missed Stephon Diggs. That's great, but the defense is falling apart too. I think Zimmer's going to be on his way out there too. That's just where I'm at, and I think that actually represents the most coveted job. You got Aaron Rodgers, who's listen. He's doing great things, but he's on the back end of his career, and you're paired with the Lions and the Bears, who themselves are galactic messes. Once you can get past Kirk Cousins' contract, good luck. That may be a better situation overall, but you're tied to Cousins is the only downside, right? I mean, but I would argue that Minnesota is a better job, but you can't rule out the AFC South as a good situation.
I don't even see Zimmer as even if they created this year, I think Zimmer's still going to be there at least another year.
We'll find out, I suppose.
Well, at least we'll find out. I mean, it's a prediction. It's not a spoiler, it's a prediction. All right, question number 2. We're 4 weeks in. Lots of great play by a lot of players, quarterbacks. Give me your MVP candidates so far, 1 to 3. Your top three MVPs right now.
My top 5 MVP candidates are like my top 5 rappers being Dylon, 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 and Dylon. It's Russell, it's Carrington, it's Rusty, it's Wilson, and it's that guy that plays quarterback in Seattle. And if you don't add him, you are probably one of the dumbest analysts, people, football fans, or people to even utter a single syllable about the word football. Listen, I've already burned your people who aren't smart like you to agree with me on this front, that Russell Carrington Wilson has been shirked far too many times when it comes to this award. He was the MVP in 17, he was the MVP in 19, and he's obviously head and shoulders to where even every moron on the planet who works for ESPN has figured that out now.
So
I got Rusty at number 1.
It's funny. We come a long way with the Russell Wilson thing, you and I.
Listen, I mean, he got better. I keep having to explain this to you. Like players can get better. It happens. Just like you're hoping Daniel Jones gets better. Russell Wilson gives you hope that may actually happen. It won't, but it. Other MVP candidates worth mention. Before I think the COVID episode may even help him. But listen, you got to give a nod at some point to my dude Cam Newton, don't you? And
I definitely, if you're talking top 5 or 6, he's definitely in the conversation. To be clear, I think he's definitely somebody you need to talk to. I mean, look, the stats won't show anything. The stats are a little more modest, but what he's done for that team, the presence, and him not playing that game against Kansas City on Monday showed his true value. That score does not reflect that game whatsoever.
I'll put it this way, my man. Like, they were exposed like Janet Jackson in a halftime show, partner.
Whoa! Uh-oh.
and I'll say this, like Patrick Mahomes, of course, is going to get his props. I mean, arguably the best team in the league, and he's the quarterback of it, so he's got a lot of weapons. We both know this. I could make a case for Stephon Diggs in Buffalo to get at least a vote or two for MVP. That offense is not the same. Josh Allen is suddenly a prolific quarterback. People are trying to say, Stephon Diggs, no, excuse me, Josh Allen, MVP, shut your damn hole. Okay, he won nothing like this until Stephon Diggs got there. Please recognize this. It's almost like Eli Manning and OBJ later in Eli's career, okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did say it right. So, yeah. That's basically where I'm at the moment. But, I mean, listen, Aaron Rodgers deserves obviously a little bit of a nod, right? I mean, let's not be stupid. And, I mean, I did say somebody who wasn't a quarterback, but, I mean, if we don't at least utter Aaron Donald is somewhere being the reason the Rams are relevant, then I'm not doing a service to the sport.
That's true. That's very true. Sticking to the Russell Wilson thing because I agree 100%. I think he's number one. And to be honest, it's not even close. There's not even a close second.
Yes, there's some times when you drop that and it's not close that you're a complete moron. This is not one.
Yeah. Today, no, it's not close this time around.
Yeah, I didn't mean to dunk on you so hard about that
daft
tweet, by the way.
I felt it. Nuts in the face. It's okay. Number 3.
Hey, but listen, you've been doing that with Brady for how many years? I figure I should get my turn. Anyways.
Or we just move locations now to Florida.
Yeah, he's more accessible to you. Exactly. I know why he got traded down there. He didn't want to play in Miami, and he's closer to you to get his loving.
Speaking of Brady, right now, up 2 points right now over the Chicago Bears, 19-17 still right now. But back to the conversation of Russell Wilson, because this is the question number 3 is actually entitled to him. And this is a conversation I've been having with some friends of mine recently at work. It's something I mentioned to you on text yesterday. Should Russell Wilson be considered as a top 10 all-time quarterback? Not saying whether or not he is or not, but should be considered in the conversation right now.
It's too soon for that yet. Can we just stick to? Can people first adopt head and shoulders? By the way, that he's a future Hall of Famer. Can we get that first? Right? These stupid a-holes again have not given this man a single MVP vote. Can we fix that?
Well, you know that changed this year, so.
Yeah, great. Welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah.
By the way, I love Die Hard.
Yeah. Bruce Willis.
Yes.
Reginald,
I don't remember his last name. Damn it.
Johnson.
Thank you, Reginald Johnson. Right. Thank you. Well done.
Fame matters.
Thank you for the assist there, boss. Thank you for the assist. Also, by the way, before that, from Ghostbusters as well, plays the prison cop that lets the busters out of jail when they get bailed out.
And also, I believe Turner and Hooch. Tom Hanks.
I did not see that movie, but that makes sense.
Turner and Hooch also with Tom Hanks and company.
Indeed.
So.
Tom Hanks and dog.
Look, I do think Russell Wilson, like my buddy, when he initially brought this to me a couple weeks ago, I said, well, my immediate reaction was no. Why this is too soon? And I only said no because of the fact that he's still going through the process. It could happen.
Right.
It just feels too soon. But
what are big Russell Wilson moments? Think about, can somebody give me other than the worst play call in Super Bowl history, obviously, but what are some big Russell Wilson moments that actually exist? We know he's great, but can you give me a moment where, yeah, Rusty totally did this?
Well, I know that I do know that you mentioned the pass around the world, the interception to Malcolm Butler, but 2 weeks before that, the winning touchdown against Green Bay, the throw he made to I believe was it Jermaine Kearse, I think it was.
I don't think Kearse caught that one to win that game, but he was a rising rookie. It's possible.
The point is, he made a 47-yard touchdown throw in overtime to win the game.
I thought it was Lynch that caught that though.
Marshawn Lynch.
Or am I thinking? Wait, no, I'm thinking of the wrong Green Bay game. That's my bad.
Right. This is the one that Green Bay blew.
See, but that's my point. You can't pull it out the sky like that. So granted, not that that's a bad thing or a point against him. I think that's part of the reason why people struggle is you can't pick out that Russell Wilson moment.
I also think people struggle with Russell Wilson too, just because of the fact that he's really the first league quarterback of his kind that wins the way he does. He's stocky, short and stocky, mobile, but he does that to an elite ability where he's very smart, not just with his arm, but also with his feet. And people are used to seeing taller quarterbacks, the Bradys and the Elways and all that. So what Wilson does is it looks pretty new, like at least in terms of an elite level.
I mean, I think that's a good point, but honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with him being on the West Coast and him not necessarily being a heroic type figure. Listen, you remember the series I wrote, right? You know, how so and so when I would compare, you know, a member of nerdy culture with sport culture, right? What was it I compared Russell Wilson to? Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Okay?
Right.
Peter Parker ain't going to keep your attention, but Spider-Man does amazing things, and he gets the game's over so fast you forgot what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, it was a great analogy. I think it was 2 years ago you did mention that.
And it still holds true, man.
It
and
does.
You know,
even more so now.
Google it. Why Russell Wilson is like Spider-Man on Hilarity by Default.
That's correct. All right, question number 4. Should the Tennessee Titans be forced to forfeit the game against the Buffalo Bills for not tightening up the COVID-19 protocol? Now, right now, the update is they're going to be playing that game, I believe, on Tuesday.
Well, it's scheduled. I'm not going to say they're playing it.
But right, that's scheduled for Monday or Tuesday. I think Monday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay, barring no more positive cases.
Assuming no more positive cases,
right.
Yes. Right. So, first of all, the guy that we both dealt with, one Teron Davenport, has reported that the workout that they're being chastised for actually happened a day before the NFL set out protocol preventing or announcing that they can't have workouts like that, basically. So whether or not it was a violation of pre-existing protocol, either from the team or the league, is still uncertain yet. But should they forfeit the game? Listen, man, this is what I struggle with, honestly. And we're in a situation where, you know, you've got teams all over the place coming up with positive cases. We mentioned Cam Newton earlier. Stephon Gilmore is somebody who has been found lately. And oh, by the way, during the game or post game of this Monday night debacle that you talk about, Gilmore actually gave one Patrick Mahomes a hug. So yeah, that's awkward.
And if Mahomes, someone gets, I tell you what, it's going to take probably a big star. I mean, Cam Newton's a star in his own right, but it's going to take somebody on the Mahomes Wilson level, Aaron Rodgers level if that were to happen. Oh boy.
Yeah. You know, right now the NFL's trying to treat it like it's just a standard injury, which isn't necessarily a bad move. But with as many Titans players, like, I don't know what a forfeit does to the league. I don't think anybody does. We're talking unprecedented territory, right? So at the end of the day, I think it was Bobby Blackjack himself, the producer for Beyond the Buzzer, that said, you know, hey, taking a month hiatus may not be a bad idea. Now, easier said than done, obviously, because literally everything's got to get rescheduled. But that might be the best course of action, is that they just kind of, you know, chop the month and move it over. And I mean, listen, EJ Christian, if things with COVID start to go right into 2021 and we're, you know, travel's open back up and things start looking right again, not to say they will, but hey, Super Bowl spring break, man, you can't rule that out.
At this point, anything's on the table.
Yeah.
Any and everything's been on the table at this point. I'm already expecting football in mid-February.
Yeah, that's not a bad guess. Well, granted, they do have that bye week before the Super Bowl to play with. I think that's going to go. The week's not going to go away, but a gap before the Super Bowl, I think, is going to go away.
Yeah. And by the way, we've had it before in the past.
Yep.
It used to be a thing. People don't. A lot of kids don't remember that, but it used to be a thing back in the day.
Back in my day, these millionaires didn't have a bye week before the Super Bowl. Media day was.
I do remember Super Bowl 25 not having a bye. I mean, Super Bowl 25 Giants Bills. You know, they went straight from San Francisco to Tampa. So
25, you old bastard.
Yeah, I was turning 11 that year, actually.
Good God.
Yeah, you were turning 21, weren't you? Just kidding.
That's right. In August, I just turned 21, and I could still hold my liquor better than you, tiny man.
Hey, I'm not trying to brag about that. I'm not a big drinker. I think beer. That's it. And wine.
Oh, well, aren't you just... No, I can't talk trash. I drank wine on the Beyond the Buzzer show tonight because I didn't...
Did you really?
I haven't made it back to my brewery yet to pick more up. So.
Oh, okay.
Hey man, this is pandemic life, teaching and working by day, and then having to meet with the CFAPJ, and then do a podcast, and then do a pod with you because you finally called me up as I'm sitting by the phone like an ugly girl waiting for a date. You know.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, question number 5, and it's actually impacts this game right now. So right now, currently, the Buccaneers and the Bears are playing. Right now, it's about minute 36 to go in the game. The Bucs are up by 2 over the Bears. The Bears are moving the ball, though. The Bears are actually on the, if I'm not mistaken, they are on the Bucs 25-yard line. So the Bears might win this game. We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. My question to you is this. Based on the first 4 weeks of the year, plus this game, is Tom terrific, and the Buccaneers Super Bowl contenders in your eyes?
Yeah, I still think they have a shot to win this division, even if they lose tonight. Simply because the wind. Listen, I knew the Saints were going to decline some, but damn, losing to the Raiders blew my freaking mind. Their discipline is gone. And listen, as much as I love, as a guy who covers UCF, to see Traquan Smith catching touchdowns, Michael Thomas has not been a factor like they need. Alvin Kamara has proven to be an amazing specimen of an athlete, of a football player, but Drew Brees reaching, age 845, it's just a bridge too far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And can we stop with the Taysom Hill, damn it?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, he is what he is. Like, he's a gadget guy. He's a gadget player, a spark plug. That's all he is.
Hey, listen, your boy Pat White did in Miami, and it was a failure then, too.
Yeah. Well, they tried the quarterback thing with Pat White, and that failed, yes. Being a quarterback. If you stick to what you know, just being a gadget guy, moments guy. That's all it is. That's why I agreed. With James Winston going there, sitting behind for a year behind Breeze, learn the system under Sean Payton, great offensive mind, and then when Breeze retires, will be this year, he'll take the keys.
And hopefully they can account for his color blindness. That might only be the real reason I can explain anybody can throw that many interceptions. Moving on.
Yeah. Like I said, the most inconsistent one-year quarterback in history of football last year, by far. All right, question number 6. We got word yesterday that the Washington football team benched Dwayne Haskins.
Yes.
After 4 games. Look, I'm not a Dwayne Haskins fan anyway, so I'm not necessarily surprised. Now, I will admit I haven't watched much Washington football team games this year. I'm trying not to say Redskins, by the way. I just said now. But I have to be honest, I'm not trying to play politics here, not trying to play, race here, but the optics to me seem kind of weird of this. Are the optics bad on the benching of Dwayne Haskins this soon into the year? You asked 2
different questions there. Do I think they do it with that in mind? Not necessarily. Do I think the optics are bad? Absolutely. I mean, consider the climate of things going on. I mean, you talk about you're not trying to make it political, but I know how much you love talking political crap, dude, so I get it. But and I'm not saying that there's a problem.
That's scary. You know me too well.
Hey, man, listen, we've been doing this for how long? If I didn't learn anything, I wouldn't be that good a student now, would I? Moving on.
That's a good point. Hey, there you go.
But what I'm trying to say is this, partner. Regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, you have to admit the timing of it is a pretty darn bad look. Just because things are what they are in the climate of what's going on during a damn election year, I might also add, Ernest Julius Christian, that of course people's minds are going to go there. I mean, hell, the main competition to the NFL right now is the presidential debate. So, of course, it's a natural way that it's going to flow that direction. Now, for me, I think the situation isn't necessarily... Here's the thing. To claim that it's racial, I think, is to give Dan Snyder's football IQ entirely too much credit. He picked a guy that his coach didn't want, against his coach as well, that he then fired, and the new guy has a different coach in mind as well. Now, granted, people are like, but Cal, you're taking out Dwayne Haskins. Listen, if I'm Dwayne Haskins and you're going to take me out, it damn sure better be the week before I'm going to play Aaron bleeping Donald. And listen, the Red Tails are going to do what they're going to do. There's no stopping them. I hope you caught that, by the way.
I caught that, Red Tails, yes.
So, I'll put it this way. I think it's not necessarily a bad thing for this to have happened, okay? Because now Dwayne Haskins is going to be in the position to give everybody an I told you so, right? Just like Deshaun Wynn was with the Browns. Oh, it's totally the coach's fault. Hugh Jackson's a terrible coach. Forget about the fact that he was Tebow time away from getting a Raiders team led by Jason Simpson, Kyle I should have been a Boulder, and Carson Palmer at quarterback. No, that's not a thing. But it's totally the coach's fault. Then he's in there backing up. I forget which quarterback. Oh yeah, no, that was it. He was backing up Aaron Rodgers and couldn't connect a single pass. So after getting hurt in week 1 by Khalil Mack, Rodgers has to get hurt to come back in hurt to beat one Mitch Trubisky, who proved to me that moment on that he wasn't a good quarterback. See, it all kind of falls together. Yeah. Haskins will be given his opportunity. Can he rise to it? Because listen, everybody's looking for that quarterback. You know this.
Of course. I think the only thing I'm troubled by this, especially too, is not only to get benched, he's actually the third string quarterback now on the roster.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. I think he was actually marked inactive for the upcoming game, which is a hell of a note considering that he's behind Alex Smith, who's recovering from an absolutely traumatic injury. I'm shocked that he's this high on the depth chart. I don't care how good or bad Dwayne Haskins is. Listen, at this day and age, granted, I haven't seen a lot of Alex Smith in practice. I don't have that knowledge or information, but I can tell you that I've been watching UCF's Mackenzie Milton very closely, and their situations are very similar. And much like with Mackenzie Milton, I feel the same way about Alex Smith. Listen, you're talking to me about playing him maybe in November, and in garbage time, I might let it slide. But to put anybody in a position where they're that close to taking that many meaningful snaps in a football game in that condition, no. I'm not medically comfortable with it. I appreciate my bias as somebody who has a background in healthcare professionally, but no, I can't get down with that.
Okay. And last question before you go. The Jets and Giants both 0-4 right now and terrible, yep. and they're both bad.
Yeah.
If you're the Jets and or Giants, and at the end of the season you end up with the number 1 pick, do you use it on Trevor Lawrence, or do you trade the pick?
Okay.
So
the question should be posed as, who do you use the pick on, and why is it Trevor Lawrence, right? Listen, Daniel Jones, the reason why you can actually make this move, Danny Thompson, is I really feel like both coaches.
Wait a second, you just call me Danny Thompson?
You
did it again! You did it again!
You see, that's because the only time I can find you is fresh off the show. So, but no, all I can tell you is this is Julius Thompson. There are some times I say something and I'm like, I'm such a douche.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you this, EJ Christian. If I'm being earnest, I think both of these coaches are going to get fired. Okay.
Bill Judge?
Can you rule it out?
No, of course not.
Okay, moving on. So Gase is obviously out the door. I really think that if they're in a position to get Trevor Lawrence and reboot the franchise, EJ Christian, you may have the opportunity to celebrate a rebuild. Now, granted, neither team has really good protection to account for it, but that's a whole other question. If you bring in the right coach in the right situation, they'll be smart enough to acquire that and find a way, like the Dolphins tried to in the draft and kind of fell short. So I would say to both, yes.
Wow, I like that. People ask me, the Giant, in case of the Giants, being a Giants fan, in case you forgot, of course.
No, of course, Patriots fan. We're aware of your situation.
No, do you want Trevor Lawrence because you don't like your quarterback? I go, no. Actually, to me, it's less about Daniel Jones and more about just how good Trevor Lawrence is.
Correct.
If this is a run-of-the-mill quarterback, college quarterback, okay, trade the pick. Because I actually do like Daniel Jones. I do see potential there. But Trevor Lawrence is a generational guy.
Let me say this.
Okay.
What's the name you've heard, EJ, in reference and comparison to one Trevor Lawrence?
John Elway.
Oh, God. No, I'm not going that crazy. But the best prospect since
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck. That's all I should have to tell you. Moving on.
By the way, the Bears are up now. Bears are going to win this game by 1 point.
I hope you punish your boyfriend for what he's done to me. Now we have to listen to these dang Bears fans. What if they're the top 10?
Let's go look at
they blow. That's why.
You know what we're going to do right now before we get off the air real quick? Let's go by Mr. G's Twitter account.
Must we?
Real quick. Let's see. Because
that'll be a doom to gloom story, won't it?
Let's see. G Steelio.
GWSTWLIO.
Oh. By the way, I actually enjoy his podcast.
Listen, he's a great Potter. If he was talking about something else other than the Bears, which actually he does way more than he should, I might listen to it more.
Yeah.
No, G is great as his job at his job when he's on the mic, no doubt.
Yeah.
Good writer too. That's how I got him paid. What other ways can I stall you besides like verbally stroking the heartthrob here? Like, you do realize we've made his entire century. Like, he can get shot in the head now and he's happy for this however many minutes you've spent spinning on this damn Twitter feed looking for him, okay?
You do realize Nick Foles owns Tom Brady, right?
You need to stop talking.
I'm just joking, dude. Anyway, let's go. What you got going on?
Finding ways to remind people that Jay Cutler is not the best quarterback of all time. No! Listen, man, the list is long. Of course, you know by now about hilarity by default. I don't know if you had a chance to check into the live stream yet, EJ Christian, but what's that?
On YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Okay.
9:30 Wednesday Eastern. Now, granted, we've had to forego some nights because, he lives in Rochester and is politically tied to the news as you are, sir. That should tell you plenty. When I tell you that he lives in Rochester and he's, let's just say, about a block away from major events.
Okay.
So there's been some times when we've had to cancel the show due to relocation.
Events, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but when things are going well, Wednesday night, 9:30 Eastern, hilarity by default on the YouTube channel there, hilarity by default. Good times all the way around. Get all caught up in movies here. We actually did a required viewing on the movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang 2 Wednesdays ago. So, when Demosthenes Euclid is back in play, you'll probably be able to catch that on demand if you subscribe to the Hilarity by Default YouTube channel. There's that. Of course, Beyond the Buzzer with Danny Thompson. Check out the Beyond the Buzzer Facebook page. Monday, 9 o'clock Eastern. That's a good time all the way around because the Monday night games generally suck anyway. So listen to us. We're better.
That's true.
That's
a lot. It's very true, though.
Yeah, hey, listen. I'm not coming at you with fakeness. And then, of course, if you want to check out my writings on the University of Central Florida, check out the 3pointconversion.com. That's right, the number 3, by the way. Raphael Haynes' group, you'll find so many talented guys, and they decided to bring me aboard, so that's where my stuff is now, too, for that. And, of course, check out my work with oldschool101.com. A lot of stuff going on local here to the Central Florida area. I don't know if you heard, I actually interviewed the mayor of Orange County, yes, in this area.
You told me that on the last episode, dude. That was in the works.
And then also, I actually interviewed somebody who was running for a circuit court judge. I forget which district, who actually won. Christy Collins was a very fun interview, and a black female candidate, by the way, was successful over a well-entrenched incumbent. It was a very surprising victory. So that, of course, is with oldschool101.com, the Captain and Company morning show. I actually will be guesting again there on Tuesday. I actually found an opportunity to be off. So, with schooling and everything, that's been difficult to put that in. There's probably, the 1-0 show every Wednesday at 9 as well premieres on the 1-0 show Facebook page, like I mentioned before. Yeah, I think that pretty much rounds it out. EJ Christian.
Jeez, that's a lot. God, you're busy. Busy guy.
Hey, listen, man. You know what it is? It's insomnia from the pandemic, man. I do something.
There's nothing wrong with that, though, man. Content business is fun sometimes.
It can be.
So, Kyle, we'll talk soon. Definitely.
Hey, honor, joy, privilege, As always, glad to be aboard. But until next time, my good friend, class dismissed.
Okay, online with us now, our guy, James Big Jim Neis. Big Jim, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, what's going on? Long time no talk, at least on the actual podcast side.
We last podcasted, I want to say, well, we did. I came on your show, actually one of your shows, Hold Up, back in May. But last time you were on this show was at least early in the year, definitely. But I can't remember exactly what month it was.
I've lost all track of time.
It's still 2020, buddy. It's still 2020.
It absolutely is. But like the only times I know what day it is Tuesdays I do Huddle Up, Thursdays I do 3 Count, and then I know if it's the weekend because my wife works from home. And she's not at the table working right. when I get out of bed. That's sad as that is, but it's it's either a weekday or a weekend day at this point.
All right, speaking of your shows, Huddle Up was on Tuesdays and 3 Count Thursday, my favorite wrestling podcast on the planet, every Thursday. I'm going to tell you this. I was going to wait to tell you on air here, because you started adding some ads to your show recently.
Yes,
dude. Do you remember back in the day? You may remember this. If not, you might actually see this on the network. On the old episodes of Primetime. Whenever they used to do the WWE will go on, or WF right back in the day, they would go on on the tour, house shows, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you'll have they'll tell you all the dates of the upcoming house shows they do, and they'll have Harold Finkel do the narration of it.
Oh yeah.
So listen to your ads. You sound just like Harold Finkel actually.
Oh, that. Hey man, that I can't be in better company. If anybody's gonna say I remind them of the Fink, that to me that's pretty good. I'll take that. 7 days a week.
It's like I say, you have the golden voice, man. You have the golden voice.
Love it.
So I actually want to talk to you about something real quick. It's something that you and I have actually been kind of united on some degree on Twitter. Is our I won't say in my case it's hot and cold, mm-hmm. But I guess mostly our disdain sometimes with the coverage and Clay Travis and Jason Whitlock and just the whole makeup of it. Now I've said for years on this show that I've always admired the setup in which Clay Travis built his brand, like the way he did it. I'm not talking about what this content. It's not the actual. Mm-hmm. The organization of it, if you will, from scratch. I've always admired that. And in some ways, early on, there was a time I actually sort of modeled, what I did here with what they were doing. But Outkick now has now gotten a wider audience now. They've now partnered up with Jason Whitlock, who's a very polarizing sports writer, host, you name it, veteran in the business for a long time. I go hot and cold with Jason Whitlock sometimes. I've also been the same with Clay Travis as well. But their opinions and their just the rhetoric around the coronavirus and all that has certainly there's no middle ground really. It's like either you agree or you disagree. It's either it's embrace what their message is or they're utterly ridiculous. And I've noticed in the last couple of months you have definitely spoken up on social media about your disdain for Outkick and Clay and all that and whatnot, and you make no bones about responding to anything what you deem to be stupid or dumb that he says or they say there. So what's your thoughts? Let it out, baby.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I'm kind of with you too in at least from a respecting his ability to build a brand and all of that because building it from the ground up. I mean, in a much smaller scale, you and I are both. Kind of have that dog in the fight, and we both know what that's like to try and get listeners and get clicks, and how can I do this? How can I prove here? And Clay's been on my radar as just kind of one of those guys, and there's multiple of them across the sports media landscape of just the kind of typical. Windbag blowing hot air and just hot takes just to be. But he never really got under my skin that much. I mean, obviously if you take a shot at Notre Dame or the Cowboys or something like that, like I would get mad at the shot, not necessarily at him. But yeah, the whole COVID thing has I mean, just taken him to a different level, and it has kind of coincided with the shift that he's made to appeal to one audience. I mean, obviously, across sports media right now, there's more of a left lean, and I don't think there's any denial that anybody can give to that. So he's giving, to quote CM Punk from the wrestling world a little bit, kind of a voice to the voiceless, and it's paid out like gangbusters for the guy. So from that part, he's smart. I mean, he knows what he's doing, but like just the ridiculous takes, and I think what bothers me most about it is, like, if you have a bad take about sports, or if you have a bad take about, I don't know, most things in this world, it's not going to have a potential, dangerous impact on the world. But the problem is when you have somebody who is a smart guy, and I'm not denying his intelligence, because I had a guy who used to try and get under my skin on my Twitter who would always remind me, well, Clay's really smart and he went to law school and this and that. I'm not denying the man's smart. But the problem is, when you are that smart, you also know how to get people to follow you. And when you do that and you start using it for evil, which Clay Travis is doing right now, is you have a lot of people who are following your advice in what is, in my opinion, terrible advice on how to deal with a global pandemic that we have literally no way of fighting except for staying away from each other. And like, it's unfortunate. It's horrible. It's caused, harm not only to the people who have gotten the disease and know people who have gotten it, but economical and mental and so many other aspects of it. But the best way to get through it has been proven in, I don't know, almost every country around the world that isn't the United States, is to kind of change your life until we can actually combat this thing.
Okay, so I'm with you everything you said there. I'm with you. It's frustrating because I do listen to this podcast from almost every day. I have for actually about 5 years, actually, to be honest with you. And to me, it's not. They found a lane. And by the way, I'm glad you said also too that the media really is. Let's be real with it. It is left leaning. Mm-hmm. Anybody that denies that is just being,
you're lying,
a bit biased. Let's be real here. Yeah. CNN, ESPN, MSNBC, they're all left leaning. So I can understand the want and to go the other way, this and create an avenue for that. My problem with Clay Travis and Jason Whitlock, and has been for many years, is not that they're necessarily wrong in some of the things they say. Is that they sit there and say they're fair and balanced. No, they're not. Okay, because they always say that the left this, left that. I never hear any criticism towards the right at all on any of their platforms. That's the problem I have with them. Like, there's a lot of things on the left I don't like. Trust me on that. I'm pretty vocal about that as well. But I am definitely very consistent when it comes to my criticism on both sides of the aisle. Okay? It seems that, and by the way, Clay Travis is not even a Republican necessarily either. He's actually a Democrat. He used to be a Democrat, actually. He used to work for Al Gore back in the day. And his thing is that he says that the left him and that he's a radical moderate. Okay, fine. But you never have any criticism for the right at all. That's the problem I have with Clay Travis, and to an extent Jason Whitlock as well too.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you've looked at over, and I don't listen to Outkick. I all I see of what they're doing is what I see on like Twitter or whatever. But like, I mean, they've had Trump on the show. They shill for the Trump administration. They they sing the praises of Tucker Carlson and the Fox News ratings. And they spend all their time talking about bad ratings for the NBA and ESPN. And if you want to be a brand, if you want to give that voice to a side that doesn't have it in regular media, sports media, that's fine. But yeah, I think you hit it nail right on the head, man. Call it for what it is. You are taking the opposite side. You're not.
You are a right-wing media.
Yes.
And it's okay. But my thing is just own it. That's always been my criticism with Clay and the guys. Own it. It's okay. And it's funny because, like, I think the reason why he's doubled down on this now, especially, is that there was a time a couple of years ago where Clay was open. He did do appearances on, and this is actually a criticism I've had for years about the left. Not to make this political, but one of the things I love about Bill Maher is that he's open to having people on the right come to his show. So he's one of the few liberals that actually embraces right wing, commentators or maybe on his show. And for the most part, most right wing commentators are okay going to liberal shows. It's not the same way the other way around, though. And to me, I've always said, if you want to understand, it's funny. I just had a discussion with my father today too about, discussing and debating and opening up ideas and stuff. Like, people always ask, why do certain people support Trump, or why do evangelicals support them? And I told my dad, listen, if people want to know, why don't you ask them? Instead of like assuming what they're doing, ask them. And that's one thing I think Clay had an issue where a couple years ago where he was on CNN. They banned him from the show because he made some comments about boobs and whatnot, and he was trying to get to a point, but he got banned by CNN. So I think the way he took that was that, okay, well, left wing media is out of control now, so I guess the only people who embrace me is right wing media. So I can see his point to some degree, but again, it sounds foolish when you say you're not a right wing media shill, but yet you have zero criticism for the right ever.
Yeah, and that's the thing is and again, not to make it political, but it's, I think that's one of the problems in the world now is just about every talk show, media show, whether it's TV, radio, podcast, whatever, most sides they just bring on the people that are gonna agree with them and stroke their ego or whatever. I mean, I was shocked over the last couple of days that Fox News has had Mayor Pete on multiple times, and quite frankly, like, Mayor Pete took some shots across the bow and it kind of stunned the
I saw that.
But you at least, I don't necessarily like to give credit to Fox News, but they brought him on, and I'd be shocked if he's on again after the last 24 hours. But
right.
But they at least did it.
No, well, I'll give Fox News as much credit. They do bring in a lot of left-leaning people on their show. Donna Brazil was on there after the 2016 election. I think she's still with them, to be honest with you. So they do have some left-leaning people on their show to bring some balance, But that's a whole other argument. The whole Fox News machine, if you will. And to be honest, they're not even the worst one anymore, in my opinion. OAN is the worst one, in my opinion.
Oh, good Lord.
They're far to the right. I mean, at least Fox News is balanced in comparison, but that's like apples and oranges at this point, though.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is when you're talking stuff that's on your standard cables versus the internet, it goes, because I'm sure because I don't spend too much time in it anyway, because it's exhausting enough on Facebook and Twitter, but when you start getting into the the Breitbarts and the OANs, and I'm sure there's stuff on the left side that it's just it's not healthy to when you're getting news or talk from places like that. I mean, it's bad enough on the MSNBCs and Fox News of the world,
right.
but yeah, when you start digging deep on the internet, it's better to stay away.
Right. All right, moving on. Tomorrow, well, actually, as it's recording, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be on Friday. Today is the day one of the WWE Draft. SmackDown will be today, and then Raw on Monday. Real quick though, because I brought this topic on the podcast yesterday. The last episode we recorded was a Wednesday. About the idea of NXT being part of the draft. To my knowledge, in the 17 years I didn't watch, they've never been part of the draft. Am I correct on that one?
Yeah, and the NXT things, it's a little strange with the drafts. It's like they have never been a actual part of the draft. However, like last year, the Street Profits were drafted to Raw during the draft. So like, even if they're not an official part of the draft, I think they can be drafted. And the thing we always joke about on 3 Count is anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation entertainment. So you know, this notion that you know this
WWE.
You know, this notion that you know that they can't be involved or they won't be involved. I don't think is 100% true. But call-ups happen randomly throughout the year, and you know, we saw with Finn Balor last year when he went back to NXT. Ember Moon this week. Hopefully, I didn't spoil anything for you. No, because you watched Takeover, so
yeah, I watched it already.
You know, so those sort of moves can happen during the year anyway. But I think what it is it's 98% just a reshuffle of the deck a bit between Raw and SmackDown.
Right. And that's what it is. I think my question more so now is, should NXT be part of the draft as though they're almost pretty much equal to Raw and SmackDown? Like literally take their entire roster and make available to any of the brands.
Well, I mean, if you want to continue with the idea that was presented last year and presented in a great way at Survivor Series, that NXT is the third brand and they're part of the WWE, and based on the win-loss record at Survivor Series, that they can be better than Raw and SmackDown. I think that it would be awesome if you did include them. Like, I don't think NXT at its you know, to visually speaking, is just a developmental brand. At its core, it is, because I think you still have up and coming stars, as well as people who still kind of, you know, as seasoned as they are in the business, they kind of need to learn how to be WWE talent. Like when Kevin Owens came in and when Finn Balor came in and Shinsuke, like, they weren't super long for the NXT world, but there are things about WWE that are different than wrestling on the indies or in Japan or whatever. So, but I would love it if NXT was a part of it and the draft finished at the Capitol Wrestling Center on Wednesday night.
Right. By the way, you mentioned Kevin Owens. Like, I was saying, one of the arguments I made this week on social media was that I think a guy like Kevin Owens, who's kind of lost on a Raw brand, could be an absolute, you know, star. I mean, he's already was a star before, but he could be a tippy top guy at NXT.
Absolutely. Right, I mean, on 3 Count tonight, we did a little bit of a mock draft. Like, we just took 5 picks for Raw, 5 picks for SmackDown, and then we like on the fly, I was like, well, if you could move like one superstar or one team or whatever to NXT, like from the main roster, and Kevin Owens was mine, because I'm like, you know, and not that I don't think he's fine on the main roster. I mean, he does the Kevin Owens show and he's been in some feuds, but like,
of course,
you put him down there now. I mean, Finn Balor's down there. You have the as of right now, the Undisputed Era's down there. You have Gargano. You have Damian Priest. Like, there's so much talent in NXT that I would love to see Kevin Owens work with, and I would love to see Kevin Owens capture that NXT title.
Right. Well, besides that, as I said, the draft starts tonight as we're recording. What moves would you like to see? Like, it's something random. Who would be better on what brand? What moves would you like to see?
Honestly, I would like to see the Bray and Alexa pairing shift to Monday Night Raw, because I think the big thing right now, I mean, and if you look at the rosters, like, it's not that Raw doesn't have talent. I feel like Raw, especially being a 3-hour show, is missing characters. Like Drew McIntyre, you know, as much as I've bought into Drew as champion and the talk less Claymore and all the stuff he's been doing, like, he's a better wrestler than character. And I think that's what Raw has more of. They have guys who are better wrestlers than characters, and in a 3-hour show, that doesn't always work out that well. So I would like to see, like, Bray and Alexa move to Raw. I also have Miz and Morrison moving to Monday Night Raw, because he's a guy, and I think getting him involved in a WWE Championship picture, because I think, you know, if you look over the last couple of years, you know, he's a guy that I think deserves another chance at a WWE title run.
You mean The Miz, right?
Yeah, The Miz. and he's a character. And then looking at SmackDown, the only person in my 5, I moved Asuka. Like, I actually swapped the women's champions to each brand because I'd like to split up Sasha and Bayley so that feud can stay hot, but is given the time to breathe and gets us closer to like a Royal Rumble WrestleMania situation.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But Seth Rollins, I want to get Seth Rollins away from the Mysterio family and Buddy Murphy, and that match and story that we've been watching every single Monday night for the past at least, it feels like 10, 11 weeks. And not that it hasn't been good. Like, it's built Dominic up. It's put Murphy in a prominent spot. But and I love the Monday Night Messiah thing. Like, we joke that on he could become the Friday Night Friar or something on SmackDown. But I think that the Messiah thing may have kind of played itself out a bit, and maybe he can come to SmackDown and kind of get back to the roots of Seth Rollins a bit as well.
I mean, I am enjoying the Seth Rollins, heel turn. Don't get me wrong. The last year, last year, I complained last year about, they're doing the Roman Reigns thing where they're forcing down our throats, and I love that they turn him heel, and it's been really well. And by the way, I'm tired of the Mysterio thing, but I actually don't mind where it's going now. The story is now expanded to not just the Mysterios, now it's expanded to now, the siblings and the connection. As long as you're moving a story, I'm okay. Even as much as I tired of the matches, as long as you're moving a story, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah, I think they and I think it's also a bit of the problem that they have on both brands is you have limited rosters because of the COVID situation.
That's right.
You're not bringing in a lot of extra talent each week that you could throw something together. There's certain superstars, I think, who have said they'd rather feel safer and not come to work right now, which I totally understand. It's not that I'm chastising anybody, because we're all kind of in that boat of having to weigh our safety and the choices we make versus others and how other people are going to view us and whatnot. So I don't fault anybody for making that choice, but it leaves a limited roster because, we saw the Street Profits and Angel Garza and Andrade, and it seemed some combination of that every week for a couple
week, yeah.
And so, like, this draft, I think, it can't come at a better time because you can shuffle some of those parts around. Maybe, and I've kind of, secretly kind of hoped this and said it on the show as well. Maybe at least until the COVID era ends, you unify the Intercontinental and U.S. title and you unify the men's tag team titles and maybe even unify the women's championships as well.
Whoa.
So that you're not, you don't have a lot of tag teams. You don't have a lot of female talent that's there week in and week out, and you don't necessarily have a lot of mid-card talent. So that champion can shuffle on both brands. So this month for Hell in a Cell, maybe it's, let's say just get rid of the U.S. title for now. It's the Intercontinental title. So this month, the Intercontinental title could be in a SmackDown match. Next month, it's in a Raw match. You know what I mean? So it just,
right.
It's just one of those things where, we've been played a terrible hand this year, with everything going on.
Of course.
So, and I think, at least from reading Twitter and like talking on 3 Count, like, I think people will be forgiving of WWE if they're like, look, here's the deal. We don't have a lot of talent at our disposal right now. We're going to unify these titles. So there's more chance to go around and get more people involved, sort of something like that. And then once we come out of things, I think people will understand if you split those titles back up.
Right. No, I like the idea. I think it's pretty creative. All right. I didn't watch AEW Dynamite last night, but they celebrated 30 years of Chris Jericho on the show. I saw a little clip at the end of the show, which I don't know if it was real or not, but it was from the AEW account. It was saying all the credits at the end of the episode. It said Chris Jericho for this, Chris Jericho was the writer, Chris Jericho was the cameraman. You see that?
Yeah, it was. They kind of did it. They kind of had music, kind of like Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Like an SNL. It was pretty clever.
Yeah, it was pretty clever. I mean, I thought it was fake actually at first because I saw it on social media. Because you see the random like if you don't watch the show like the AEW like the WWE will do this also too, but AEW will put out like random like clips of the matches as it's going on and whatever. So I saw that. I thought it was fake actually, but that's kind of funny actually. That being said, 3 years of Jericho. Chris Jericho, one of the all-time greats. I don't know where you rank him. I mean, I never asked you about Chris Jericho in terms of where you rank him as one of the all-time greats, but give me a favorite moment, match moment. What would be? What Jericho has had a very storied career.
Oh man, he's not a guy like he wouldn't make. I don't think he would make anybody's Mount Rushmore just because there's so much other talent there. But I mean, off the top of my head, probably top 20, top 25 all time, maybe even top 15 because longevity. 30 years is a long time in this business, and when you start in Mexico and you go to Japan and then all his time at WCW and what he meant to that cruiserweight division and then some. And then, I mean, the first thing that will always come to mind when I think about moments in Chris Jericho is his first night on Raw, going toe to toe on the mic with The Rock. I
watched that live too. I watched that live. I watched that in real time.
I mean, that sets up a guy for success. If you're going to go toe to toe with The Rock, and that's exactly what he did. That's something special. And then, I mean, his feud with CM Punk. I mean, I remember like him pouring the booze on CM Punk. Like his ability to reinvent himself so many times is probably the biggest thing. You go from, the goofy silver shirt and the goofy ponytail, then he cuts his hair and then he does the suit thing and then he does the light up jacket and the Festival of Friendship with Kevin Owens. Then he starts growing his hair back out, the list of Jericho. He goes to Japan, and those feuds there. And then, makes the decision to sign with AEW and to, at that point of his career to say, look, they want to take a chance on me. I want to take a chance on them. I believe in what they're doing. And, to bring up stars like Sammy Guevara and, he's had matches with Mark Quinn and things that you can never say Chris Jericho doesn't try to make new stars. Like he understands the scope of the business and how necessary it is to to bring up new talent and make new stars, and that's exactly what he's doing time and time again. He's one of the greats.
Yeah, I go back to that. It's funny, like when he came out with The Rock, interrupted The Rock rather, not came out with The Rock, interrupted The Rock on that Raw. I didn't read dirt sheets, so I was stunned. So I was actually surprised when he came out. I was like, holy shit! Like a lot of people back in '99 probably read the dirt sheets and stuff and probably knew that he was leaving WCW. I didn't follow. As much as I love wrestling, I didn't follow the dirt sheets. I just watch wrestling as I was watching a sitcom. Whatever's new, whatever happens is fresh to me. You know what I'm saying? So when I saw him on the stage, I'm like, holy crap, that's Chris Jericho. You know what I mean? And then the whole thing from there was just, gravy. So of course you mentioned, you mentioned all time, great, moments. Same thing to me that you can't not mention the intro with The Rock and the back and forth. It doesn't matter what your name is and all that. And, it's just great. The Y2J thing, especially with the Y2K thing coming up months later, sure. It was just genius, I will say this, though. His match with Shawn Michaels at Mania 19, incredible.
Oh,
love it.
And the build to it,
Yes.
And the thing is and the first undisputed champion, like that,
yes.
That was a surprise. But, like, more times than not, if there was a big Jericho match, there was a great build to that match.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it that, I mean, like, here's the deal. I've always been a WWE guy. I watched WCW during the Monday Night Wars. But, probably one of the, I think the only WCW pay-per-view I had ever ordered, at least at that point, was when the third man, when Hogan ended up being the third man at Bash at the Beach.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I was just always a WWF guy. Like, that's what I grew up on.
Right.
But Jericho going to Japan got me to buy, I think it was Wrestle Kingdom 9, when he was involved with Kenny Omega. So, like, his ability
I gotta see that.
to get people to cross brands and watch brands and stuff that he, that he never, that I would have never probably watched. And New Japan is not my flavor. It's wrestling. I mean, it is wrestling. There's very little story. There's very little gaga. I mean, it is, like Wrestle Kingdom. I think that one was like 4.5 hours, and it was like matched. Like they have an entrance ramp and an exit ramp. So like when one group's leaving, boom, next match is coming in, and it is a much different watch than stuff. But I mean, Jericho's ability to do that is just, it's incredible.
Yeah. Again, I've had to rank him maybe definitely top 20. I mean, we can finagle the actual number, but definitely top 20 for me. Your Cowboys 1-3. Jesus, I gotta tell you, this pandemic obviously has been a little rough. I'm reading your tweets, obviously, between that and then watching the tweets on Sundays with the Cowboys. Oh my gosh, it's something like James Neis, bro.
And like, I mean, I've seen some Cowboys fans that are like, fire McCarthy and I'm like, okay, like I'm mad. I'm not happy about it. Like, I feel like the Cowboys they're definitely blowing opportunities because, at some point you got to figure the Eagles might figure this thing out. But man, you're falling behind when you shouldn't be. Now, I think the Cowboys have had the harder schedule out of anybody in the East, right out of the gate. With the Rams, the Seahawks, and I mean the Falcons, obviously that turned out to be not a hard one, but you're blowing games and blowing opportunities that you shouldn't. But I think, and there's other teams who are in this category as well that you're trying to change everything, and you didn't have a normal camp, you had no scrimmages, no preseason. Now you're trying to learn on the fly. And that's a hard thing to do.
The good thing though, you play in the NFC East.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, it was so bad. I'm a Giants fan. It was so bad, dude. I mean, I don't embrace tanking. I'm not a tanking guy, but I'm okay with falling apart for Trevor at this point.
Yeah. So you're over the Daniel Jones experiment.
It's less about Daniel Jones because I see the potential there, but more about the fact that Trevor Lawrence, to me, is a generational guy. He's a guy that, you move and shift things to get that guy if need be. That's
he's unbelievable. Like, when they mud stomped Notre Dame in the college football playoff in his freshman year, I was like, oh, cool. We get to play him again and probably again. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's really, really good. Last thing, it's Notre Dame Florida State week. Obviously, you're a big Notre Dame fan. I'm a Florida State guy. Florida State sucks this year, obviously. I'm barely watching as it is. I'm going to try to watch this game this weekend. I mean, I think it's no secret that, obviously, you guys will win this game. I think I texted you the other day by how much is the question, really.
Right.
So how much is the Irish beating the Noles?
What's the spread? I think the last I saw it was like 22.
When's the last time you ever see a spread with the Noles and the Irish?
Right. I mean that in itself is pretty silly. I want to try and pull it up here because the last I had seen, going 21. Notre Dame at 21.
It's just right now. It's open at 21. It's at 20.5 right now. 21. Yeah, 20, 21. Yeah, 21, 20. Yeah.
The over under is about 53, 54, somewhere around there.
Probably.
Yeah, they had a scheduled week off last week. The week before they were supposed to play Wake Forest in their first road game, but that had to get moved because they had a pretty significant COVID outbreak, not only with the football team but on campus and things as well. So hopefully they've gotten that under control. The one thing that I've really liked ever since the 4-8 season for the Irish, which was in 2011. No, not 2011, 2016.
Yeah.
They, ever since then, the thing that always bothered me about Notre Dame is they would play down to their opponents. So they would be playing a team that'll finish the year 2-10 and they'll win by a field goal. at the end of the game. But the thing over the last couple of years is this Notre Dame team a lot of times will get off the hot starts and they won't stop, which for me is like such a relief. Like when they when they played South Florida, my wife comes in and looks at the TV and Notre Dame's up like 29 points in the late in the or midway through the second quarter. She's like, oh my God. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I love being able to sit back and watch it.
Especially college football ones, that those leads do hold pretty much.
Yeah. But Notre Dame used to find creative ways to not let those hold. So
Yeah.
If the team that was clicking what feels like a month ago, is still going, I think that this one I think Notre Dame could beat that 21-point spread. But honestly, Florida State has had history, to come in and make Notre Dame Stadium. They've been able to kind of make it their own home at times. I'm not thinking that's going to happen, but I think you're more realistically looking somewhere around like a 13 to 17 point win. Just because I do think that 3 weeks off is going to hurt Notre Dame.
Yeah, it could. I'm thinking back to 1993, that game where we lost, the only loss of the year.
Oh man,
that year we won the national championship that year actually.
I'm still bitter about that year because Notre Dame lost to Boston College the next week, and then Florida State finished number 1 and Notre Dame finished number 2.
Yeah,
I'm still bitter about it to this day.
It's Charlie Ward, man.
But man,
that was Rick Meyer. Was that Rick Meyer's team that year, or was it?
Yes. No, it might not have been. I think Meyer graduated in '92. That might have been Kevin McDougal.
Okay.
If it's but the night of the Notre Dame Florida State game, that was the first time I lost count at about 200. The first time my dad, my brother, and I saw Rudy, because obviously Notre Dame wins. We're riding a high. There was a theater in downtown Lancaster, which is about like 20 minutes from our house. The theater is not open anymore, but my dad, my brother, and I were just going crazy, and we looked it up. They had like a 9:40 showing, so he takes us down, and I'm 8 years old at this time, so he takes us down there. And it was like a Notre Dame convention. I think every Notre Dame fan in Lancaster County had the same idea. We're not gonna sleep anyway. We're number 1. So we went and saw Rudy there for the first time. So that was a good one for us, only to be spoiled the next week.
What year was it? What the game that we beat you guys at our place? Was it 2014 or 2013 where you guys scored a touchdown, but they called it back because of the clip. The clip on. What year is that? 2014, 2013?
It was
Jameis. That was Jameis. It was one of the Jameis years.
Yeah, it was like 2013, 2014, something like that. Yeah. I was watching that with a buddy of mine, a group of Notre Dame fans, and I thought we were going to burn his house down.
That was Dave Robinson's son that scored a touchdown too.
Yeah.
NBA Hall of Famer, Dave Robinson.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those rivalries that doesn't seem like it should always be hot, and obviously this year it's probably not going to be that hot. But
it's our fault.
But it's one of those ones that that have produced some really fun and interesting games at times over the years.
Without question.
But what makes me nervous is you brought up that '93 season. So Notre Dame, they won that game. They moved to number 1 in the country. They lose to unranked Boston College the next week.
Tom Coughlin led.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yes.
But then, now this year, first week of November, I believe, Clemson plays at Notre Dame Stadium. Obviously, Notre Dame or Clemson shouldn't lose to that point. The following week, after Notre Dame plays Clemson this year, Boston College is looming, and I'm just sitting here going, not again. Not again.
That's not gonna happen. This is not 1993, buddy. Come on.
But you got to remember, 2002, Tyrone Willingham's first year as Notre Dame's head coach. They were 8-0. Boston College comes to town. Notre Dame does the green jerseys, and Boston College beat them 14-7 and ruined another. So Boston College has ruined. Boston College has ruined a few perfect Notre Dame seasons. Not that it should happen this year, but I'm like, Really?
But you
ACC?
never know. It's in your head. It's in your head.
Yeah, you had to put the Boston College game. Notre Dame joins the ACC. You had to put the Boston College game the week after Clemson. It's just not fair.
You're so paranoid, dude.
I am. Hey, dude, I'm 35 years old. Notre Dame last won a national title when I was 3. The Cowboys last won a Super Bowl when I was 10. My Capitals finally won a Stanley Cup 2 years ago. My Baltimore Orioles have never won a World Series in my lifetime. My teams have found new and creative ways. Like I remember there was a game the Cowboys had fallen behind, surprisingly, I know. Fallen behind, it was 20 points, 23 points or something. They come all the way back, and there was like 2 minutes to left. Cowboys are driving, they're down 2. And I don't remember who the kicker was. One of the actually more accurate kickers, and probably Dan Bailey.
Okay.
And my wife's like, they're charging down. They're in field goal range. I go, he's gonna miss. And she goes, but he's one of the more. I said, I have watched this team since 1995 find the most. And sure enough, it wasn't even like it was a long. It was like 36 yards. The ball was centered between the hashes. It was in AT&T Stadium. There's not wind. The roof was closed, and he just shanked it. And my wife looks at me and goes, "How'd you know he was going to do that?" I go, "Because I'm a Cowboys fan. I know these things."
And what's so sick about this is that my football experience, getting into football as a kid, at 19 years old, I was raised into Cowboys dominance. I remember the Cowboys Super Bowls with Jimmy Johnson. I remember that. I remember the build.
Yeah.
So to see where they're at now is like night and day. Like, wow.
It was Super Bowl 30, and this coming year is what, 50, whatever, 54, 55. I mean, it's been 25 years. Yeah. It's been 25 years since they won, and I'm just.
Hey, I'm not complaining.
And that was the funny thing is because obviously I'm here in Central Pennsylvania. My brother's an Eagles fan. Yeah. I have so many friends that are Steelers and Eagles fans.
They hate you, I'm sure.
But when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, like I hated the fact that the Eagles finally won a Super Bowl. But in the same time,
me too.
But I'm sitting at the same time I'm watching like my best friends in the entire world, my brother, like finally getting that championship that you never thought was going to happen. And then of course, 5 months later, the Washington Capitals finally win their Stanley Cup. And EJ, the craziest thing about it. So, that's a year later, my dad, St. Louis Blues fan, he was a day one St. Louis Blues fan because his older brother was a Boston Bruins fan. Right. And they used to travel with the Hershey Bears, the American Hockey League. They used to be in the Booster Club. They would travel to road games and stuff all the time when they were younger. And there was 2 stations that you could pick up nationwide. There were the Bruins out of Boston. Mm-hmm. And when the Blues came in, you could get KMOX like nationwide on AM radio.
Okay.
So they would be driving. They would listen to Bruins games. And they'd switch over to Blues games. So my dad, that was in the 60s. The Blues came in. The year after the Capitals win their Stanley Cup, the Blues get their first Stanley Cup. So in a matter of 16, 17 months, my brother, my dad, and myself had our number one teams that we love the absolute most in all of sports win their first ever championships within each other.
So you're a Caps guy first for Cowboys, huh?
Absolutely. Hockey's my number one sport.
I mean basketball. I'm a Heat fan number one first before I am with the Giants.
And honestly, I'm more Notre Dame than the Cowboys. Like growing up.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like in the movie Rudy, there was, the joke that there's only one team we watch in this house. Now we didn't go that far, but we structured our weekends around Notre Dame football because my dad's a Washington fan. My brother wasn't really big in the NFL until he went to college. He actually went to college in Philadelphia, became an Eagles fan. And then, I kind of latched onto the Cowboys because they were always on TV when, in the early to mid 90s. So it made the most sense, but we never structured ourselves around, and Sunday night was like movie night for us. So, but yeah, for football, for me, it was always Notre Dame and college football over the NFL, but hockey is my absolute number one sport.
Yeah. I can relate to a degree. Not much more talking to the basketball part. So,
yeah.
Nice story, though, man. Anyway, follow James on Twitter at Big Jim Sports. Of course, his podcast, Three Count Thursdays. As I said, if you love pro wrestling, I urge you guys to check it out. My favorite podcast, wrestling podcast. Huddle Up, of course, on Tuesdays. And you have another podcast you do. You haven't done much of that. The other one.
Yeah, that one. It was like early in the pandemic, and I unfortunately, it's the work situation is not good. So I just had a lot of time. I had like a lot of ideas going up in my head. And then like just kind of like the long haul of everything that's going on is kind of like squash my creativity a bit. But it's like I need to like push myself to do it, because I think if I start getting some pods in the can and things like that ideas and whatnot will come a little bit more. So it's not dead. It's just in the like in the warming tray under the oven.
Yeah.
It's still down
course.
there. But it's gonna happen.
I like that. All right, Jim. We'll talk soon, man.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed it.
All right, brother. Be good. All right.
All right, you too.
All right, later.